I've talked about this with other people. They'll tell me, well, a lot of people looked at as doing this when they felt like it or sporadically. They wouldn't day in, day out promote the maintenance business. And I don't know, I'm trying to come up with the reasons why retailers opted out of maintenance back when this was a hot property. You have any feel for that?
You know, I don't have I have a couple of opinions, but I don't know the basic, you know, the actual factual reasons why they got out of it. I just think that it was too wide open of a marketplace. It's hard to rein in. When you're selling a product, you got something that a customer can touch, feel, look at, smooth over, whatever. When you're selling clean, which is what we're doing, it's almost like selling insurance. You know, you don't have anything viable you can put in a bucket and hold on to. And I think that's a much different type of sale than what the retailer was used to. And I don't know, I wouldn't say that they failed at it. I just think they realized it was maybe a larger hill to climb than they anticipated.
Yeah. Well, but the rationale still holds that did back then when you mentioned the fiber companies and other bigger players got in the business. For some reason or another, the execution didn't seem to pan out as well, but the basic concept to me still seems to be viable.
Oh, I agree. I think you just have to understand, you know, what that strategy is and what those challenges are going to be. We've worked with several large buying groups more than anything else that have decided to do that. Again, more on the commercial side than the residential side. I'll say that. But we've helped them understand those challenges and actually made it a little more viable for them to find employees and the type of, you know, personality types they were looking for. Because again, you got to understand something. It's different when someone comes into your facility and purchases something from you than you going to their home to have them purchase something from you. The playing field is very different at that point in time. You don't have, you know, that home field advantage, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're on their turf.
What would you say are the key points to becoming successful in the maintenance business? If a retailer is out there thinking about it, you know, maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe I ought to think about it. What are the key points they need to keep in mind to be profitable at this part of the business?
Well, I think the number one thing is you have to think holistically. You have to look at this sale of this floor covering as the beginning of a journey of having a customer, not just a simple transaction. And I think that's going to be a big mindset change for a lot of these folks. To bring in the maintenance operations and to get the sales staff to understand what the maintenance operations look like and feel like, so that when they're talking about it, they're actually speaking from an area of some level of expertise as to this is what it feels like, this is how it works. And then thinking about changing the vocabulary from a cleaning program to a maintenance program, as I said earlier. You know, getting them to realize that maintenance really starts with a broom at the door. And the further you keep the soil from the building, the more success you're going to have at removing it once it enters.
Yes. And showing them how to do it, basically.
Sure. I mean, it could be as simple as a walk-off mat, you know, that people wipe their feet on. Right?
Well, I was just thinking that most people vacuum the floor, they vacuum everything. The places where no foot has ever fallen, as much as the place where all the traffic is, that would seem to be a waste of time when you really get down to it.
Well, I mean, you still get dust settling in those areas and other things like that. So we certainly talk to them about, you know, the reasons why, but you can probably save some time concentrating on the soiled areas versus the non-soiled areas, and then using the non-soiled areas occasionally giving them some service.
Which really comes to the point that delivering a schedule and a plan, a maintenance plan on day one would really seem to be the key here.
Oh, sure. Like I said, we would love to be able to build a carpet owner's manual for a retail group and say this is what we should do, and we'd obviously want to put Bridgepoint products on there available from Interlink Supply to let them know that, but also work with some of those retailers that either want to do it themselves, or if they want to find quality contractors in their area that we can recommend to them, we would certainly love to do that.
And just to bring attention to the whole idea that no matter what you use, it's really wise to maintain this thing and do it on a regular basis.
Well, at the end of the day, we're all making money from the same customer type.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we can keep that customer happy and keep them coming back to your floor covering store to buy product and to come to our customer locations and call us to interface with them when they need maintenance, and the carpet manufacturers sell more carpet, everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, that's really the kicker, it seems to me. As I mentioned, I think obviously operating a successful maintenance department at your retail store is key. But the kicker is having the people who are in there doing the maintenance plans themselves realize that, you know, ma'am, I can clean this hallway, but you may want to think about replacing this. And getting sales from that maintenance crew that's out there, that would seem to be the kicker to me. You get back in the house realizing that you've got the Home Depots and the Lowe's and the Costco's and the others aggressively selling floor coverings and going to be more aggressively selling it as we go forward. You have a good avenue towards that customer now, next year, and 10 years from now, if you're back in that house cleaning the carpet.
Well, they're going to feel more comfortable with you, I think. If you've got people in there on a regular basis with your name, the retailer's name on their shirts or on their trucks, there's certainly something to be said about that.
Yeah.
There's certainly something to be said for having somebody have some eagle eyes while they're in that customer's home and making recommendations as to different floor coverings that could be replaced or even repaired is another area where people can make a lot of extra revenue.
Yeah, interesting. Suppose somebody out there saying, wow, that's a great idea. I've been thinking about maintenance for 3 or 4 years. Maybe now's a good time to think seriously about it. What do you think it would require in terms of an investment for a retailer to get seriously in the maintenance business?
Well, again,
And
lots,
I'm sure
lots
that's
of
from
variables
soup to nuts,
in
yeah.
that question, but I would think that somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 they would be pretty viable into the marketplace at that point, and we could certainly work with them on, you know, packages, if you were, of products and equipment to, you know, minimize that initial investment. I think it's more of a strategy to make sure that you've got the right people running that particular part of the organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would think $40,000 or $50,000 would be a reasonable estimate for the majority of the people that are going to be out there.
Well, that's imperative. I guess one would think making that investment and bringing somebody in that really understands the business. I mean, it seems to me that it's really a knowledge business when you really get down to it. Looking at a problem and knowing what it is and knowing how to solve it without damaging the carpet is certainly key here, I would say.
Well, as we say in our ads occasionally on your show, you know, it's not rocket science, but you do need to know what you're doing. And I think that's an important part of that is you do need to have someone who knows, you know, the physical process of how it's manufactured, how it was installed, how it should be maintained properly so that they can use the right processes to get the soil removed without causing any damage. That's key.
Yeah. It would seem, just to sum up, that the key rationale here is, as the CRI had decided these many years ago, maintenance is important to a consumer, and that's why they spent all this time and effort with the seal of approval program, making sure vacuum cleaners are effective, making sure that pre-sprays actually clean, and that these systems actually do remove dirt. And to have some program schedule that would help do that would seem to really sum up this whole idea of maintenance.
Oh, sure, and they've done a great job of that. They've spent a lot of money, time, effort, volunteer time, blood, sweat, tears, all those things they put into it. And they've got a great maintenance guideline, but it doesn't have a timeline. And because you've got so many different variables, I think that's why they couldn't really put a timeline to it. Because they'll make carpet here in Dalton, and who knows where it ends up. It goes on a truck. It goes to a retail outlet. It might be in Alaska, for all we know. And that's where Interlink Supply comes in. We know people in all of these markets that we would consider professionals. They're our customers. We deal with them every day, and we know the right ones to call when there is an issue. So if the retailer is thinking about maintenance, you got a couple different things to consider. Do you want to do it yourself? And that's a great alternative for them, and we'd be more than happy to sell them products and equipment to do that. Or do you want to know somebody who you can trust in your marketplace? We can arrange meetings for you to meet with our customers so that you find the right one that fits what your business model is.
Well, it would certainly be a good time and probably a profitable time to start thinking more about maintenance. And as you mentioned, the difference between cleaning and maintenance.
Correct.
Very good. Dane, very good conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David. It's always great to be here.
We've been talking with Dane Gregory. He is the commercial sales manager for Interlink Supply. This is Talk Floor TV.